Many thanks to Jerb, Jaren, DayZ Podcast, Tag West, and that one random for making this video possible. The M16 assault rifle has just been added to DayZ 1.13, and while it does look similar to the M4A1, it is anything but. So in this video we're going to compare it to the M4 and obviously give you the deets on the M16. The M16 is an assault rifle intended to be used for burst fire mode, allowing you to select semi-auto or a burst pattern, spawning it in military locations just like the M4A1. The size of the M16 is the same as the M4 in your inventory, 9x3, but it is 20 centimeters longer or around 20% longer than the M4A1, so be careful on the walls, while also weighing 600 grams more or 25% heavier. A lot like the M4, it uses the same 5.56x4.5 rounds, and it has the same attachments too. All of the magazines that attach to the M4 also attach to the M16, also allowing the suppressor, improvised suppressor, and the bayonet, along with the ghillie gun wrap if you're so inclined. The M4A1 doesn't allow you to zero as standard, so you're stuck with 25 meters with the M4, whereas with the M16 you're allowed to zero up to 200 meters in increments. Now, a major drawback with the M16 is its lack of optical attachment slot, meaning there is absolutely no attachment slot for the M16 to allow an optic. Even though it looks like there is a carry handle attached to the M16, you cannot take this carry handle off or swap it for anything else. Another big drawback is the lack of buttstocks and handguard attachments, meaning that the recoil, accuracy and sway of the M16 is far worse than the M4A1 because the M4A1 allows a variety of buttstock attachments and handguards. Anyway, here is the chamber animation of the M16 and also the reload animation. If you've got a sharp eye, you may have noticed that this magazine right here is new to 1.13. It's a 60 round magazine, much like the coupled magazine for the M4. It's the same size in your inventory too, so it's pretty much identical to the coupled mag. 60 rounds, just as big, it's pretty much the same. The sound of the M16 is different to the M4, giving it some distinction here, but I believe the biggest difference between these two weapons is the fact that the M16 does not have a full auto fire mode, only semi-auto or burst fire. The burst fire mode fires 3 rounds if you hold down the fire button. If you don't hold down the fire button, it will only shoot one shot like semi-auto. This means the M4 has a clear advantage in providing a reliable stream of destruction, where the M16 feels a little clunky in trying to get the maximum amount of RPM out of this weapon. However, digging into the game files, the M16 does 10% more damage than the M4, and because the M4 does 96 damage per shot, which isn't enough to one-shot kill a player, the M16 can one-shot a player, but only up to roughly 100 meters pending further tests. This means in these first 3 shots, the M16 does 10 more health damage and 10 more shock damage per shot, giving you ability to down players faster than the M4 would, but only in those first 3 shots, because the RPM of the M16 is clearly more than 10% slower than the M4. Now, burst is easier to control than full auto fire, but the M4 is easier to control anyway with its low recoil, and because the M16 doesn't allow a buttstock or a handguard, it means the recoil is worse on this weapon too. For example, here is 60 rounds from both weapons. The M16 obviously has more recoil, but not much more. Finally, for the M16 is the effective range, which with it not having an optic is difficult to determine, but I could reliably hit targets up to around 400 meters with this weapon, about 100 meters more than the M4 with no optic on. With the ACOG on the M4, it obviously has a longer effective range, but the M16 also has a 10% faster bullet speed compared to the M4, allowing it to hit targets easier at a range, especially moving targets, and also has a penetration rating 10% higher than the M4, allowing bullets to pass through objects slightly easier. From all of this information here, I don't personally believe the M16 is a superior weapon over the M4, mainly because it doesn't have a full auto fire mode, but also because the M4 is one of the best weapons in the game. I believe in the heat of a gunfight, full auto tends to win over semi or burst fire weapons, and the 10% extra damage and speed just isn't enough. But for some people out there, I'm sure the fact that the M16 is the first burst fire weapon we've gotten so far, it certainly has a unique charm to it, so people might pick it up for that reason. Let me know your thoughts on the M16 below. Do you believe it's lacking compared to other assault rifles? Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.